This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
It is 6:01. I will now call to order the July 27th meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. This meeting is being recorded. This meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission will be conducted in person and simultaneously via remote participation online to the greatest extent possible. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we're unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Easthampton website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Should an interruption occur in which the online meeting ends abruptly, both the in-person and online meetings will not be restarted, and all agenda items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting. Are there any public concerns, non-agenda items? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to public hearings. Our first is a request for determination of applicability and Form E filing for 26 Nashwanek Street for the construction of an artist studio in the buffer zone of BBW. This was continued from the prior meeting. Do we have someone to speak to this?
Yes, I'm Meredith Broberg, and our new proposal moves the studio site entirely out of the inner buffer zone. And it's, I think for your consideration, what you'll be most paying attention to is the 82 feet between the pond edge and the back corner of our proposed site. And then if you're wondering about the distance from the wetland zone on our neighbor's property, the closest it gets is about 90 feet from the west edge of the studio. So everything is pushed well beyond the inner buffer zone for both that neighboring wetland and the pond. We want to point towards what we think are some important advantages of this site. It preserves the sunny meadow that we discussed last time as being especially active biologically, and it preserves a cluster of native trees that we think have really significant wildlife value. So if you look at the proposed planting and rain garden map, those native trees are an oak, a dogwood, a red bud, another dogwood, and a magnolia.
These are the trees that are
right. I thought it would be visually confusing if I labeled them, but I probably should have. And in order to address introducing an impermeable surface with the studio, we plan to plant a rain garden that is larger than what would be recommended for the roof area. And I changed the species to reflect that it's a really shaded area. So those plants would thrive in that area. Some of them already are. So in that back corner, the one that's the closest to the pond at 82 feet, is about 26 feet from the nearest trunk of a Norway spruce. There's about 37 Norway spruce in that area that slopes down to the pond. So I sketched out a plan for introducing natives that I think will thrive in that somewhat shady, part sun, part shade area. So again, we hope that you'll agree that this placement preserve some significant habitat advantages. And it's, it is in the outer buffer zone, but it's well beyond the inner buffer zone.
And what, the configuration of your building is different. Has the square footage changed?
No, the square footage is a little bit less.
Okay.
Originally, we were aiming for a narrow building like this, but then compressed it in order to try to not impinge on that central space. So with this new site, the square footage is 448.
Okay. And the rain garden square footage looks like it's similar.
Let's see, I think I originally proposed 120. We have very sandy soil, so the guideline was 20%. So I think I just pushed it beyond that.
So it's about 120 still.
Yes.
Okay. And what, was there any discussion at the last meeting about floodplain overlay district? I noticed that's on the old plan and not on the new one.
No.
That's something that's not really our purview.
Yeah, I did send an email to, I'm sorry, I don't remember David, the building commissioner's last name. And he contacted Ava with that question about, does this apply? And they both considered it. And I do have an email from Ava saying, this does not apply. This map isn't accurate, and it's okay to ask the surveyor to remove it from the map. So I did do that when I roughed, when I made an amended map for tonight's meeting.
Okay. Is the, I know that the original design was intended to be on piers. Is that the same?
Yes.
intent?
Yes, so no changes in the construction, still aiming for the least disruptive environmentally. So on helical piers with extra insulation.
Okay. Are there questions from the rest of the commission?
From me.
No, we asked a lot last time.
Yeah, it was more about because of the ordinance.
Yeah.
And that's why they reconfigured it. And I believe Ava said something about we want to add additional conditions if we go through.
Yeah, let me just see if I can pull up her message real quick. Unless anybody has it handy.
Her email?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She had a note for us.
she actually talked about limiting the conditions. Please discuss commission issues the local order of conditions. I'll write them August 3rd, 4th. Please discuss any conditions you would like in the local order. We will likely try to modify down our standard conditions for these smaller scale orders.
Okay. Okay, so I know I was not present at the last meeting, but I had sent some comments. My main concern was the studio being located within the inner buffer zone, which I felt was not consistent with our new ordinance. So with it moved outside, our ordinance allows for certain minor activities within the outer buffer zone. And my thought was that because it's, and let me just make sure I'm understanding correctly, the design with the helical piers, you will not have ground contact for the building itself, right? Water would be able to flow underneath.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so my thought is that it's within the spirit of what we intended to allow within the outer buffer zone. The rain garden, I think, addresses any stormwater concerns that we might have. And obviously all of the plantings are natives and extensive and exactly what we like to see. So I think I'm pretty comfortable with the revised plan. Were there other comments that people had wanted to follow up on or anything else that was a topic at the last meeting?
It was
I think that
really
was the
the
main
buffers,
concern,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay. So let's chat conditions then. I think generally, my first inclination is to go with conditions that are similar to what we would do if we were treating this just as an RDA. And so we would have kind of our standard 48-hour construction notice, the erosion controls. Did you have any planned erosion controls in mind? Had you thought that through yet?
No, we're not at that stage. I think
Okay.
that would be consulting with the contractors.
Mm-hmm.
Are there recommendations already available?
So I think this area, I believe, is fairly level
Yes,
before it slopes down,
yes,
correct?
it's quite level.
Yeah, so I think we would consult with Ava on this, but I think probably a simple straw wattle would be sufficient, especially since you don't have you have very little ground disturbance planned.
Yeah,
So I think that would be sufficient just to keep anything from moving down gradient. And we would want to see that most likely just on the two sides that would be closest to resource areas. It wouldn't
Right,
need to be fully
right,
surrounded.
right.
So that's probably what I would suggest. But I think we could write the condition, ask Ava to write it such that it was, when you are at that point, to have just a simple plan, a simple sketch approved prior to moving forward.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So to come back and
You wouldn't even necessarily need to come back. You could just probably send it to her and she'd be able to review and approve.
So I'm jotting down 48-hour construction notice, straw wattle on two sides, send plan for additional approval.
Yeah. And then with the 48-hour construction notice, she would typically come out and look at the erosion controls once they're installed before you actually begin construction and make sure that everything looks good on the ground too.
Okay.
But since you don't have a contractor yet and you're not quite sure what you want to, what would be recommended and you want to confer with them, I think we can write it so that we can approve the specifics first. So that way you check in before they actually get installed, just in case there's anything that you would want to see different.
Okay, great.
Any other thoughts?
Would we ask for permanent markers just to, the edge? Or some kind of monument?
Interesting question, Deb. This area is currently vegetated with various species, right? It's sort of part of the forested area or treed area, not really forest.
It's beyond the trees. It's a mix of mostly native, just, whatever is. I've planted mountain mint in the sunnier part.
Mm-hmm. But it's not lawn, it's other
it's
herbaceous vegetation.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I think I'm curious what others think. As it's planned now, and what you're planning to do for your use as owners, I think I'm not concerned about an extension of mowing because I understand you're really trying to fit this into your gardens and landscape. But it might be good to have some kind of memorialization just so that a future owner didn't turn this into lawn around it, just to demarcate that. And we've done a lot of different things in terms of, so really what we're saying is just a couple of markers that show like this is the limit of lawn that was approved or the limit of where you would be allowed to have lawn in the future. And we've done a variety of different things depending on what works for the owner and what you're comfortable with. So it could be some stones of a certain size, like sort of some small boulders, or others have done kind of a rebar post with a little sign on it. I suspect that's not what you would want in this case. So we're open to thoughts on what you'd be comfortable with, but I'm curious what others on the commission feel like. Is that something you'd want to see in this instance, or?
Only because the area that you showed us, there's a lot of wildlife. You could see the water's edge. I was just thinking, if you ended up selling the house or moving, as Julie was saying, we wouldn't want anyone else to go forward and, mow to the edge or destroy what is already there.
Yeah.
So,
So let me see if I'm understanding. The lawn is actually far from the studio.
do you have any extra photos that you brought?
I didn't read them this time. I'm so sorry. I thought they wouldn't be relevant.
I have this thing.
Okay, we have some here.
Yeah,
You don't have access to the full suite of things we usually have. Apologies.
right.
So this is very crude, but the lawn is kind of here. So it's pretty far from the studio. It's not to limit, well, I mean, it would limit your lawn, but it's not so much for you. It's your owner might decide like, oh, I want a much bigger lawn than that. Right. So I'm just trying to understand, would a future owner be limited to the current lawn or to a certain distance from the buffer zone? Would it just be the 100 feet mark? Which is pretty somewhere in between the studio and the pond. Yeah, I mean, 100 feet from the pond is about here, but 100 feet from this wetland is just this sliver. Yeah. And that's actually not long. That's great. So this is the house, and this is where we're proposing studio. The lawn is here. Yeah. Okay. So there's not a lot of lawn just for that side. I was asking. Yeah. But if you didn't try to do it. Do you have a similar lawn?
So kind of.
Yeah. Right.
If you put that in, because, you're very creative, boulders or something that is.
No, that stone would be great.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, I think I'm just not, I think we'll need clarity from your discernment about what you want where that demarcation should be.
There's the lawn. And that's.
So we do. The inner 50-foot buffer zone. It says no work, structure, vegetation removal, grading, or other alterations shall be allowed within the inner 50-foot. For the outer 50-foot, our new ordinance says no impervious surfaces, except when blah, 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 stormwater handling, et cetera. And then we have a note that buffer zone lawns shall not utilize fertilizer or sprinklers on turf grass except in the original establishment. Lawns maintained within a resource area, including buffer zone, are recommended to be planted with drought tolerant turf mixes. So it's not that we don't allow mowing. It's not that we don't allow mowing, but we do restrict vegetation removal within an existing intact inner 50-foot. So in this case, what might that mean if we wanted to monument? It might not really be relevant because the building is going to be well outside of that 50-foot buffer now. And so if somebody came to us and said that they wanted to mow around this, we wouldn't necessarily restrict that anyways. They'd be allowed to mow, I think, up to the 50-foot. So it may be a moot point with the
Do we
new
want it?
orientation.
I mean, it's not really relevant to the studio, but would we want to keep our cursor on here? Because this is where the existing one is. I don't know. Not really relevant to somebody else.
Yeah. And potentially the more relevant would be this back line, which is really in vegetation now. But that would be, you said there's quite a number of Norway spruce between the studio and the pond, correct?
There's about 37.
Yeah, so that kind of
Steep
clearing
slope
wouldn't
that
go
goes down.
unnoticed.
And the spruce around the slope.
Yeah. I think it may actually not be necessary with the configuration we have. What do others think?
Yeah, they're not gonna mow where the trees are.
And if they started, I mean, we also have the tree ordinance, so if somebody in the future started clearing that, it would, I think, come to our attention pretty quickly.
Okay.
Okay, so far we're just at the 48-hour pre-con. Erosion controls. With a plan to be reviewed and approved prior to install.
We need to say like establishment of the plants and the rain garden. Establishment of any of these planting.
Yeah, I do think for the rain garden in particular, be good to see evidence of establishment. Typically, we would monitor something like this in a resource area for 2 seasons, 2 growing seasons, just to track success and that things are actually establishing and it doesn't wind up just an empty basin. So that could be a very simple report, just with some photographs and evidence of survival.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything else?
Do we want any invasives removed?
I did put that in my original Form E. That is something I'm trying to do. This is an area, luckily, where that's much easier than the original site proposal, whereas there's much more swallow word.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I lived on Pine Street for a while and I was battling it in a big way.
Yeah. So I did, Deb, just to answer your
This is
point, I did include that commitment in my original proposal, and I just forgot.
Oh,
to
okay, for
emphasize
the,
it.
here you can
Yeah.
scroll this. Needed.
We usually include invasives removal, but since the ordinance, this is our first.
Yeah, and I thank you for that reminder. I did mean to include that as something that was a part of our proposed mitigation.
Oh, okay.
Are the, just looking back at your original climate narrative,
Yes.
the carbon sequestration piece you'd referenced 2 service berries and 3 dwarf fruit trees. Is that still accurate or has that changed with the new orientation?
Well, that is a question that I wanted to bring up. I would love to do that. That is not relevant for this site.
Mhm.
There's not space to do that planting, but I would like to find out how to get permission to remove the apple tree and the 2 pear trees that the apple tree is more and more shaded by the neighbor's oak, and so it is gradually disappearing. And so I really liked that, the possibility of that change. So if possible, I would like to stick with that plan. And I'd appreciate knowing how to carry that forward. If we need separate approval for that, or if we could include that in what you're considering.
And so those, I don't think we have a map that shows where the existing trees that would be removed are. I know it showed where the service berries were gonna go. Can you show us that?
Oh, there's a little
Or was it in
map
there?
on here from last time. And these are the 2 pear trees, and
Okay.
that's the apple.
Okay.
I believe it's on the other side.
Yeah, the other
After
side
the-
of.
Oh, it's divided.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Okay. So that is something that we could certainly discuss as part of the same permit. This would be either within or just sort of on the edge. I would say they're probably slightly within the existing 50-foot buffer. Do you know if all three were?
They're all 3
Okay.
are within that.
So
Yeah.
the 3 existing fruit trees are within the buffer, the 50-foot, and we'd be talking about replacing them with, was it 5?
Service berries, and I don't think I'd put the dwarf fruit trees there. I think I'd put them more on that little map where the former future vegetable garden is, just for better light.
Mm-hmm.
Though that area is getting more and more shaded.
So that former future vegetable garden right now is essentially unvegetated.
No, it's mostly beetle.
Okay. But no shrubs, no trees.
I did just move some shrubs along the property line. Before this whole wetlands thing came up in preparation for the studio. So I did move a sourdough tree and a hydrangea.
Okay. What do folks think?
So the service berries, is this the 50-foot? No, that's 33. This is the property line here. Okay.
And the dwarf fruit trees that you're looking at, those would be all natives? Did you have species in mind?
I didn't have species in mind yet. Yeah.
I think addition of native vegetation within the 50-foot would be certainly appropriate and easy to roll into this permit.
And that would actually really improve this area because it is the 3 non-native fruit trees. And then that's where there's a lot of poison ivy and swallowwort. So there's definitely wildlife take advantage of the existing fruit trees, but there's not a lot of habitat value in what's in the vegetation.
And the pear trees you said are diseased.
Yes, they caught a disease from that the wetland area used to be our late neighbors, blueberries and fruit trees. And that pear tree has a leaf rot disease that eventually spread to the pear trees that we planted.
So cutting those down keeps the new fruit trees from getting.
Right. So that was part of what I need to research is what's immune or I forget what the word that I want there or less susceptible, resistant. Thank you.
I think it's great.
Yeah, and actually native plantings within resource areas, if it were being done separately from the other work would be exempt under our ordinance.
Oh,
And if the project were entirely invasive vegetation removal, that would also be exempt under our ordinance if it's within the buffer zone.
yeah.
So the removal of swallowwort, please have at it.
Yeah.
More power to you if you can succeed against it. It is a tough one. The caveat on that being, I don't know how you've been working with it so far. Exempt management of invasive vegetation can only include herbicide treatment if it's done by a licensed applicator.
I think the short term is cutting them before
Yeah.
they flower, but I've been digging them up.
Digging up yeah, and that's been my approach also. And as long as you get the crown, it's pretty successful
Yeah,
over time.
But I think in this case, what doesn't necessarily fall within what you're pointing to is removing those fruit trees.
Yes. Mhm. And that I think we could write into this permit if everybody's comfortable with that.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll add as a condition, allowing the removal of 3 non-native fruit trees. And then we'll also mention the swallowwort and invasive control and the planting of new tree natives, even though that those in and of themselves would be accepted. But we can just kind of roll it all in there so that it's covered.
So we'll eventually get those details from Ava.
Yes, you will have an actual permit that will be issued. And then that has to get recorded against the deed at the registry of deeds. And so then that follows your property if it is sold in the future. And so you'll have that permit. And then the other piece, once you're done with the project and we've been through the monitoring, those very simple monitoring reports of survival of the rain garden species, then you would ask for a certificate of compliance that basically releases the permit. And then that comes off of the deed. So if you were to try to sell within the next 2 years before that had been done, they would see that permit and know that they still have those obligations. But then it comes back off after you've completed it and closed out the permit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anything else? Okay. So I think we're ready to issue, and what we will need to do here. So we'll need to issue unless you did you already issue an RDA determination last time? Okay. So we'll need to issue a negative determination for the RDA. And we'll roll in our conditions with that. And then we'll want to issue the order of conditions under the Easthampton ordinance. So that'll be our new protocol. So we've got two different things to deal with: the RDA under the Wetlands Protection Act, which will be a negative determination because this is strictly buffer zone, and then the Easthampton Wetlands Ordinance order of conditions. Both with the same conditions, I think would be fine.
Can we do this in one motion or do we have to have two?
I believe there's no reason why we can't do it in one that covers both. Yeah.
So I will move that the commission issue a negative determination for the RDA, and that we then issue an order of conditions for under the new ordinance, incorporating notice of work, erosion controls, and factoring in and acknowledging the plan to remove diseased fruit trees and replace them with serviceberry and or fruit trees to be identified.
And the other pieces we had in there, oh, you're close. Approval of the erosion control plan prior to install and the 2 years of reports on survivability of the rain
Yes.
garden. Yes.
Second.
All those in favor? So moved. Okay. So Ava, as you know, is out this week. Once she is back, she will start getting that paperwork together officially. And she will reach out to you when it is ready.
Well, thank
Right.
you for your work. Thank you for your
Well, thank you for your work in designing.
Yes.
It's never easy to be the first one.
It's a relief that Plan B is. We're excited about it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it seems like a cool project and we appreciate your willingness to adjust to comply with the new ordinance. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Right. We have no request for certificate of compliance. We have, to the best of my knowledge, no updates on enforcement. I don't think Ava left us any open space update. Enforcement, let's see. Okay, she did actually leave us one enforcement update on 37 South Street. Or is this an old?
I think this is continuing and needs one more monitoring here. And we've seen that before.
With it, yeah, that's been there. Okay, just kidding. No updates. There are dates potentially on the, but I think it would be best to wait until Ava is here and the rest of the group is here to speak to them, if that's okay with everyone.
Yes.
For the Oliver Street Woods, I think everybody knows that the installation of our first sign had to be rescheduled, and so that is now noon on August 5th, which is Wednesday. So please come if you are able. Right, and then getting into compliance updates on active projects. Before we dive into that, are you here for a specific item? No. Okay, just observing. Gotcha.
Getting the lay of the land.
Okay, great. Compliance updates. Let's see. Which letter is that? First
Letter S.
S. Is this the ENS control? issue?
Yeah, there had been some sediment building up along the silt fence. Did it. Now it's corrected. They said,
Okay. Anything you think we need to look at more closely or that update?
just that update.
Okay,
And we've now requested that they always take pictures of the silt fences
gotcha.
moving forward.
Good. And that was,
What did you say?
We've now requested that 35 Pleasant Street send us photos of the silt fences as part of their inspection.
Couldn't hear that was before fences. Thank you.
I think that's the only one I was seeing. You, anybody else see any others? No. Okay. She also had a note on here that the invasive management at the co-op was starting on Thursday. And I think she meant the Thursday that she sent this because I actually saw their trucks over there, I think on the
Yeah.
weekend.
And I saw things happening there this weekend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so that's underway. Moving on to the RDAs, there's a note on here that the National Pond Fishing Platform project was finished. So that's good. I didn't see it completed, but I'll have to go over and check that out. And I think that's it for updates. Meeting minutes. Did you have a chance, Deb, to go through the 518 minutes?
So I did the edit. And I waited, and then when I went back, it just reverted
Oh,
back to the minutes.
yeah.
Really?
So I don't know if
I
it,
looked at yours right before I came and your edits were all still suggested.
right, and then it reverted, and I went back to her original minutes. So I don't know if Ava has to somehow do something with them, because I
She
went
has
back in to
approve
check.
them.
Yeah.
So
So
you click on the link now.
think it has
you see
to-
Sarah.
be redone.
Well, the
So my
minutes themselves
suggestions-
are gonna still look the
Oh.
same, but all your suggestions are still there.
Okay,
And most of them look like they were just,
but do we have to
Grammatical
wait for her to, yes, darker?
well, if you could put yourself, like, I'm in editing mode right now, you put yourself in suggestion mode. If you put it edit mode, it'll just change them all.
Well, I don't know,
But she'll probably,
we're allowed to do another.
So folks had a chance to, it sounds like Sarah, you've had a chance to review. Hal, did you get
Yes.
to review?
yes,
Are we ready to go ahead and approve with assuming that Deb's edits and other edits are suggested?
Yes.
Are
yes.
accepted?
motion to approve by 18 minutes with noted changes.
Second.
All those in favor?
I
Okay, so moved.
didn't know how that was gonna work.
Not a problem. Any other updates? I don't think we have anything from Ava on our general business list. Would be, not ever, but definitely one of the shorter ones in a while. Right, I think we're all good then. Anyone care to make a motion to adjourn?
Move that we adjourn this meeting until, and the next meeting is August 10th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.